There are additional bylaw resources that are on duty this weekend to help us continue to educate citizens. Since Thursday, we've received 300 calls on water misuse, and the majority of those calls have been resolved. We've also received 34 calls related to the fire ban, and we are continuing to approach citizens with an education first approach before issuing tickets. But we will begin some enforcement actions this weekend where we are getting repeated calls for water misuse. To date, we have issued 61 warnings, and all of those warnings have been about water misuse. The majority of citizens continue to be compliant and understanding. Our friends at 311 have been working to manage the call volume. There have been 1,800 calls directly related to this event. This averages about 30 to 40 calls per hour for our folks at 311. So please continue to be patient if you do have to wait in a queue on 311. Most of these calls are related to citizens that are looking for information as well as reporting water misuse. I'd like to again urge you to continue to save water for the next few days while we work on this problem. Keep doing what you're doing. Every small action you take makes a big difference for everyone in the city. I will now pass to Director Mackay.
Thank you and good morning. I'm happy to share with you that Calgarians did some excellent work over the past 24 hours. Yesterday morning, our water use across the city was outstripping what we were able to provide across the city. We asked you to do a little bit extra to save water, and I'm thrilled to say that you're listening and stepping up. Yesterday, we were able to reduce our demand to 484 million litres, and that means that our supply and demand are now about even. Our target is to keep that demand to 480 million litres. We need your help to keep reducing your water use. Keep doing what you've been doing. Overnight, last night, when water use dropped, when folks headed to bed, we were able to, from our water treatment plants and the staff that are working very hard there, make progress on pumping some of the water to those underground storage areas, or what we call reservoirs, that hold treated drinking water that are throughout the city. This puts our supply in a more sustainable position. That being said, again, we need to keep this work up. Today, we're asking you to definitely keep up what you've been doing. There is still a high risk that we can run out of water if we don't continue. What does this mean? Taking steps, some of the things certainly my family was talking about last night, continuing to take fewer showers, keeping them short, interesting conversations with teenagers, but absolutely it's what we need to do. Only doing laundry when absolutely necessary, even flushing the toilet when you don't need to. Hold off. All these things absolutely add up. Limit any unnecessary indoor water use. And again, remember, it's the weekend. I'm an avid gardener. Some things may not last, but they're temporary. So please, there's no outdoor water use. Please keep that in mind. So that includes washing down any outdoor surfaces is not allowed, filling fountains, tubs, pools, hot tubs. Please keep those in mind. The boil water advisory remains in place for the community of Bowness. We understand this is extremely challenging for Bowness residents, and we want to thank you for your patience. We take water safety extremely seriously. We're continuing to work with our colleagues at Alberta Health Services to make sure that your water is tested and safe before the advisory is lifted in that particular area. I'm pleased to have joined me today our manager, Chris Houston, of our drinking water distribution system, who has the crews on site and will give us a bit of an update on the construction to date. So I'll invite Chris to come on up and give us an update. We also, I believe, have a picture of the site, the pipe that was exposed as well. So. Thank you, Nancy.
Yeah, so I'm just going to read through these notes real quick, and then that'll give you the update. So obviously our crews have been working 24/7 on this, around the clock, to get this repaired. Yesterday and through the night we made significant progress. In fact, yesterday afternoon we reached the part of the feeder main that you can see in this picture, and we're able to expose that part of the pipe. Overnight we continued to dewater the site, so that means pumping water away from the site, clearing dirt and debris away from around the pipe so we could get a clearer picture of what we're dealing with. Today's focus is on some necessary maintenance on the feeder main, so some other work that can be done while this feeder main is actually off. We're preparing the feeder main for inspection to totally determine the cause of the break you see there in the picture. And we're beginning to cut out, we will later in the day start to cut out the section of damaged pipe and get it prepped for new pipe being installed. So we're making good progress. However, it's important to know it's complex, and we just want Calgarians to be prepared and understand that it still will take some time to get this back in service. There are still many unknowns, and we want to ensure that we take time to do this right. If everything goes really well, we're looking at least another 5 to 7 days before the situation is resolved. So we need your help, as was said, to continue to reduce water use at this time, and we'll continue to provide updates as we have them. Thank you.
Good morning, everybody. The thing that I can add on the business side is that 700 businesses have been contacted throughout our city and our partner municipalities, and these businesses are doing everything they can to reduce their water use. A lot of them are telling clients that if it's a water-intensive service that they require, they won't be doing it at this time, and they're just being very thoughtful about what it is that they're doing and how they can be conserving water. I also want to remind everybody, and this is coming directly from Councillor Sharp in Ward 1, please keep using the businesses in Bowness. They really need you to come out and, you know, grab a coffee, grab some pastries, do your shopping. Make sure you're going to the businesses in Bowness. They could really use your support right now. And another reminder that go to the businesses, but please don't go to the site. The crews need time, they need space so that they can get the repairs done quickly and safely. And thank you to the many, many Calgarians who have done such a great job in reducing their water consumption. As we just heard, our ability to produce water has maintained pace with the reduced needs. So please keep that up. And I just want to remind everyone, those of you who are doing your part, please keep talking to your family and your friends and the folks around you who don't believe that this is a serious situation. I can't stress enough. We will run out of water if we don't take action individually right now. This is not a joke. It is not some conspiracy. It is a fact. So please reduce the amount of time that you are using in the shower. Please think about whether you need to do that load of laundry. Let's talk about flushing the toilet. If you don't need to, don't flush it as many times as you typically would. These are the kinds of measures that we need to make sure that we are taking. And as we have heard, it is going to be a minimum of 5 to 7 days. That includes the repair work. It then includes making sure that everything is sealed up well, and then they're going to have to flush the system. So it's going to take a minimum of 5 to 7 days. So the habits that you've already acquired in your reduction, please keep doing those for at least the next week. I also would ask that you remind your family and friends and the people around you that hospitals, care facilities, and schools are counting on us right now to be able to provide the critical services that they offer to folks in need. They need us to reduce our consumption so that they can keep pace with the needs of the people that they serve. And on behalf of Council, I want to thank everyone who has taken it upon themselves to reduce their consumption. We appreciate all of your efforts greatly, and we're just asking you to do it for another 5 to 7 days, and we'll keep you updated as we have information on when things will return to a sense of normal. So thank you, everyone. And we will take questions.
I'm wondering how much has Calgarian water use fallen from what it normally is? By what percentage? I'm assuming it's less now than it normally would be on a normal day.
From a typical day, thank you for the question, is what percentage has Calgarians' water use reduced to date? We always look at weather. That's a big factor, certainly, and because outdoor water use is not allowed, in addition to the indoor water use, we are seeing 25% close to that reduction on what would typically been, which was a target we set earlier a couple days ago, and that is, we're there, but again, water supply and demand is just balancing right now. So we need to keep that up. And if there's other things that you think you can do, certainly my family was talking about maybe we use paper plates for the next couple days. You know, there's anything you can think about your water use in your business, your home, everything adds up. Thanks for that.
Is there a concern that, I mean, the weather forecast looks pretty sunny and dry, that drive up water use? People are just gonna do outdoor stuff?
The question is around the sunny forecast ahead of us. A reminder that all outdoor water use is not allowed under the emergency stage 4 water restrictions. That is not allowed, anything outside. So please keep that in mind. Thank you.
I know that we're looking at here now, is there any concern that this event will cause water shortages after everything's fixed, like this summer? We're gonna be looking at, more constricted supply longer term.
The question is looking at long-term water supply for the city of Calgary and what does that forecast look like? Calgary, so my answer to that is Calgary is a very big river, or very big city on a small river. And we know with forecast into the future what drought conditions that we've experienced. We've been preparing for that and talking about that publicly for some time now. The region is in a drought, and so we had many messages earlier this year about things that people can do. We know that our behaviors need to sustain and continue and be different than what was maybe 10 years ago. Calgary's growing. There's a lot more of us. Again, the rivers, if anything, are getting more volatile, or not volatile. They are either changing conditions. So we need to adjust. And I think Calgarians have shown that they can do that. That's what we've seen, and we need to continue that. So it's a new baseline of using water wisely and learning from different experiences. The question is water consumption patterns that change over weekends. And so what I would say is that indeed, I'm a gardener. I put grass seed down for some work I did in my backyard, and I had a look at that when I finally got home to get to sleep last night. I'm like, that doesn't matter. I'm just leaving that. I'll have to put that back down. When people have time for the hobbies, and especially from May long weekend on, we know Calgarians love to garden. This is not the time to garden. Those plants will come back. We'll have to look at that. We need to get through this next critical period. And again, as Chris Houston, our manager of drinking water distribution, said, a minimum of 5 to 7 days if things go well. So please hold off on any outdoor water use. Things do happen on the weekend when people want to participate in those hobbies. No washing of your surfaces outside is a reminder. That is one use that people like to do on the weekends. Reminder that no outdoor water use.
The thing that I will add, just in response to the last couple of questions, Calgarians have reduced their water usage quite well over time. Last year when we had restrictions in place, the amount of water that Calgarians used went down. And since we set the target to reduce water usage, we were trying to go for 2030, is that right? And we achieved that target much earlier? Yeah. Okay, so we'll speak to that in a second. So I think the thing that we need to recognize is that Calgarians are very good at understanding when they need to pull together to do something. We have seen it in the last couple of days. The more reminders that we sent out to folks that we need to cut down on water usage, the greater the response. So I have every confidence that people in the city and the surrounding region understand how serious this is. I would say, though, that this situation is not going to create a situation of water shortage into the future. So I want to make sure that what we are addressing right now is in response to a piece of infrastructure that is down. Once we get that repaired, the system will be running as normal. When we look at the future and the conservation that we need to practice because of drought conditions and environmental conditions, that's a different approach that we will be taking as a city. And that's something we'll be discussing on Tuesday at Executive Committee. Thanks.
Thank you, Mayor Gondek. I would add that a bit of history on that. In 2005, Calgary set a target of reducing overall water use for the city of Calgary by 30% over the following 30 years. We achieved that goal 10 years in advance because of things like water metering, changing our behaviors, low fixture toilets that we incented folks to change in their older homes. We've been doing a lot of those things. It's a new day, drought conditions, growing community, and so certainly we'll be talking a bit more about that later at council meeting this week.
Next question from Aaron.
Is
there a preliminary identification of what the cause of the break might be, and is there indication there might be damage to other sections of the pipe?
The question is one about early indications of the cause and other damage to the pipe. As I've mentioned before, our priority right now is public safety and getting us back into service. Of course, doing that, now that we have opened up the pipe, we have teams that are having a look at that, evaluating the risk and making sure that we're having a look at that. But it'll be some time before we know what specifically happened. I can appreciate that people are wanting to know that. Again, our priority is public safety and getting that service back in and managing the risk as we bring that back. Public health, making sure the drinking water is always meets or exceeds what is required for water quality standards remains our top priority right now.
And also, we heard that if everything goes well, it's going to be 5 to 10 days to get the system back up and running. Is that the same timeline for the advisory?
The question is around the timelines for the boil water advisory versus getting the drinking water back up in the pipe repair, which we've said is a minimum of 5 to 7 days if things go well. Those are two different things. We work very closely with our colleagues. Medical Officer of Health is here from AHS when we have a water main break, there is very strict protocols and procedures that we take to flush a line, which actually requires water. That we have some other breaks, again, water breaks are something that happens daily, where we use water we have to flush that line. We have to take some samples, microbiology. We double check that drinking water is of the highest quality before we would lift an order, and then we work very close with our Alberta Health colleagues on that. So we need water to be flowing in order to flush those lines. So it's a step-by-step complicated process. Again, the priority is public health and supply for all of us and having enough for essential services.
I just want to get some clarification on the enforcement. It sounded like there could be fines handed out starting this weekend to repeat offenders. I'm assuming. Can you get some clarity?
I will pass that question to Chief Henry.
In terms of enforcement actions, our bylaw officers always take an education first approach. If they are unable to receive compliance through education, we move through a process where we do a warning. If that warning continues to be unsuccessful and we continue to go back to the same individuals time and time again, we will move to enforcement action, which means the issuing of tickets. We have not done that as of now. As I mentioned, most Calgarians are cooperating with us and they are changing their behavior as a result. But if we do have to do that move, we will do that move.
Thanks, Chief. Any other questions?
Yeah, so you said education first and then warnings. So for the 61 warnings, is that 61 instances of people who had a first, conversation with bylaw, and then this is the second one where they're still violating it?
Not necessarily. So when we go out, it starts with a conversation. It starts with a conversation with that individual. If they are not willing to have that conversation and not willing to be compliant, we can move to a warning right away. Sometimes it is the scenario where someone has education first, we go back to the same site and then issue a warning. So it can be both depending on the response of the citizen and their willingness to help us through this.
And then, so 5 to 7 days was best case scenario if everything goes well. The other end of that, if things don't go to plan, how long can we do this for?
We don't have an answer for that. We are doing all of the contingency planning in the background to be ready for all different scenarios, but there isn't an answer for that at this point in time.
And then just lastly, was this pipe on our radar before? Is there anything we could have done to prevent this from happening?
The question was this pipe on our radar and was there anything we could have done? And I might turn that over to Chris Houston, to our, again, manager of drinking water distribution, who's best set up to speak to that. Come on up.
Thank you. So as Nancy mentioned, we have main breaks. That's part of having a distribution system. So pipes age, soil conditions can change, all of those things can happen. So we have probably 300 main breaks a year, around that number. So we know that that's possible. It doesn't typically happen with feeder mains. So This was kind of unusual in that scenario. But it wasn't like, we don't have, we don't have a crystal ball to see what's going to happen. But this, yeah, this one caught us off guard. We weren't expecting something like this to happen.
So are you talking life expectancy of 50 years and using this 49 per year?
I don't know the typical life expectancy of the pipes. Like, generally speaking, pipes can last up to 100 years. We have pipes in our system that are from 1910 that are still in good shape. So we would have expected this pipe to last a lot longer. So we wouldn't be expecting this to happen when it happened.
I might just add to that. I would just add that we have a robust maintenance program where we're always looking at that condition of all of our pipes. Again, 5,000 kilometers of pipe in the city, and maintenance plans and condition assessments, and this pipe would be part of that overall program that exists in the city.
Any final questions? Closing remarks?
Just again, a thank you to citizens. You've listened to what we've asked you to do, and we need you to continue to do those same behaviors. That 25% that we've reached, we need you to stay at that 25% and continue to think where you could add additional savings of water in your daily routine. So try to enjoy your weekend. Thank you for your cooperation, and we will provide more information as it is available.
Okay, my media grant. I do have those images that were shown that I can send you, or attach to the press release, that sent to me, the map as well of the line. It's just, okay, I don't know if that's